so through and through and through Chassidut. Along those lines, there was an older chassid, I don't remember the name, I didn't write it down, who after Lat Rebbe said, we have the Chassidut that we have, v'zeu. Kilo, without the Lat Rebbe, zeu. Yesh et Chassidut sheyesh, and zeu, that's sof. Lat Rebbe passed away. And the Mitteler Rebbe said to him, I don't remember the line, but ze yamshich, mashu, along those lines. There's going to be more Chassidut. There's going to be so much Chassidut until it's coming out of your ears. Until, ad bli die. And the Mitteler Rebbe said, so much Chassidut, much more than the Alter Rebbe. And much more often and much longer, all the time. And even when the Mitteler Rebbe was alive, when the Alter Rebbe was alive, Fatil was saying that I don't know starting at what point, but there was this ongoing debate between the Alter Rebbe and the Mitteler Rebbe. Who was, and I don't remember the word, who was greater? The Alter Rebbe claimed that he was because he had the Mitteler Rebbe as a son. He had a Rebbe as a son. And the Mitteler Rebbe said, I am because I have a Rebbe as a father. The extent to which the Mitteler Rebbe's greatness was very, 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 very unusual. Very brilliant, very profound, very refined. And one more idea that's jumping to my mind, if it's still there, if I didn't just lose it. That the Alter Rebbe had a rule that anybody could give over the Alter Rebbe's Chassidut, but was not allowed to change anything. That was the Alter Rebbe's rule. He had to give over his Chassidut verbatim. And if not, there was punishments. If you added anything, if you gave it over with the Be'or, if you changed anything, Alter Rebbe's Torah needed to be given over exactly. And Chassid, again, if I don't write it down, I don't remember, but a big Chassid, he gave over the Alter Rebbe's Torah with Be'or. They got a punishment. He couldn't see the Alter Rebbe for 3 years. And then he did it again, and he got another punishment. Be'or, without explanation, nothing. Just the Alter Rebbe's word verbatim, exactly. To give over the Alter Rebbe's words exactly as he said them.
Wait, he wasn't allowed to give with Be'or, and he gave it Be'or.
Yeah.
Why not explanation?
Alter Rebbe wanted his words to be repeated exactly as he said them. And so this individual, you can imagine how painful it is. What a punishment. It's not playing by the rules, right? But the Mitteler Rebbe was allowed. He could give over the Alter Rebbe's Torah from today till tomorrow with however many Be'orim. So one time this chassid said, Mazeh? Alter Rebbe trusted the Mitteler Rebbe. He wasn't like anyone else. He was mamash unique. He was able, and so much so that there was just you almost couldn't even tell that it was a Be'or on the Alter Rebbe. But the Alter Rebbe's words were there, and they were like diamonds in the expanse of the Mitteler Rebbe's Torah. Alter Rebbe trusted him. Hey Penina. He was the exception to the rule, but not just a little exception, carte blanche. Hey. Okay, so anyhow, I planned to start with Parshat, but I really wanted to start with the Mitteler Rebbe, so it's Yodei Chavatenu. Okay, so Parshat Vayishlach. How does Parshat Vayishlach begin? Vayishlach is to send, right? So who's sending? Guys, anybody went to a Jewish day school, right? Who's sending who? Mi amar al mi, mi ze ne'emar, ma ze ne'emar. Who's sending what? Or who's sending who? In the beginning of our Parsha. Nachon. Vayishlach Yaakov, Malachim. Yaakov sends Malachim. Malachim. And what does Rashi say? Okay, so who's he sending the Malachim to? To Esav, right? And what is he sending them with? Presents, right? Sheep and goats and camels, right? Many. And the Torah enumerates for us, how many males, how many females, of all the various, groupings.
It's so amazing, isn't it? That he could just send all of those as a gift when he left 20 years before with nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I think it's amazing he could command Malachim to do something.
Right.
Malachim also means messengers.
Can. So, Rashi tells us, what does it mean, Malachim? Because it could mean messengers. So what does Rashi say? What does Rashi say on this Malachim? That Chaim Mushka knows a story based on this Rashi. Malachim mamash. Malachim mamash. So, zoom out for a second. It's the Magid of Mezrich, who is the Rebbe of the Alter Rebbe, of the Admor Zaken, the student of the Baal Shem Tov, the second forebearer of Chassidut, the Magid of Mezrich. Bless you. That's the last Shabbos of his life, because he passed away on Sunday, I believe, after Shabbos Parshat Vayishlach. And he's there, the last Shabbos of his life, in this world, the Ol Medin, right, in this earthly plane. And he's surrounded by all the holy society. And he gives over this pasuk, right, because it's Shabbos, Vayishlach, and he gives over this pasuk, and he quotes the Rashi, Malachim Mamash, and he teaches the Torah that, what does it mean, Malachim Mamash? It means that Yaakov sent the Mamash of the Malachim. What does that mean? The Mamash of the Malachim. It's interesting you should say that. Mamash means the substance, right? In the sense, the opposite of the essence. The mamashiyut, right? The mamashiyut is the realness of it, the physicality of the malachim. That's what he sent. He sent the mamashiyut of the malachim. But the nefesh, right? If you will, the essence, if you're using that word, the nefesh, the spirit, the soul of the malachim, stayed with Yaakov. That's the Torah that Magid shared. The Rebbe asked a question on this, and in the words of the Magid, not like everything has a nefesh and a mamashiyut. Everything in creation has a form and matter, right? Has form and matter. What happens if you separate the mamashiyut from the nefesh of anything? What happens? Nachon. Thank you, Chani. It's gone. It can't live. Mamashiyut can't exist without nefesh. Kal v'chomer a malach. Is there any mamashiyut to a malach? It's a spiritual being. How could you even send it? What is the mamashiyut of the malach? It's a spiritual being. So the Rebbe explains, what is the Magi teaching us? Yaakov Avinu sent the mamashiyut of the malachim, and the nefeshes, right? The spirit of the malachim stayed with Yaakov. What does it mean? What does it mean if you think about the words a little bit more, not less physically and more spiritually, metaphysically? What does it mean? That the malachim are going to Esav, right? Yaakov is sending these angels to Esav. He's sending messengers to Esav. And Esav, that's dangerous territory. We don't know where Esav is holding. That's a part of their mission, is to find out how Esav is doing, where he's holding, right? But the last time we saw Esav, he wasn't exactly so full of kedusha. Chan? My little one is learning today about kadosh. This is kadosh and that's kadosh. And I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know how many things we want to call kadosh, because kadosh is really like we learn in Tanya, kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. You know, Hashem is kadosh. Like, not everything is kadosh.
When we repeat something without it being really rooted, you dilute it.
Exactly. It's like, because we were learning about how we can't sit or put our feet on the table because the table is kadosh. Because the Sfarim are kadosh, so they're on the table. Because we're eating a kedusha meal at the table, but not everything is kadosh. Depends what vantage point we're looking. In any case, Esav is not exactly kadosh, right? And Yaakov is sending these malachim to Esav, so he's sending them mamashiyut, meaning the nefesh is staying behind with Yaakov. And that's really how we go about life in this world. We keep our mamashiyut, we keep our bodies walking the walk, talking the talk, engaging the world, engaging, our jobs, whether we're cooking in some restaurant or we're, working in a jewelry shop or whatever it is that we're doing that isn't necessarily kadosh in and of itself, right? In other words, there's risks there. It's not the same as being in the Beit Midrash. It's part of the world, reality. There's concealment. We send our mamashiyut and we keep our nefesh with Yaakov. Right? That's the way that we can succeed in a mission. And I wanted to share this Torah because it's kashor to the Torah that the Magi shared, Shabbos Vayishlach, before he passed away, the day before he passed away. Also because I feel like it's so kashut to the learning that we did last Tuesday. Right? And we were learning about Yaakov protecting himself for the trip and the rocks and what the rocks represent and the rocks that surround his head in preparation, and also about keeping our heads safe while we're on the journey, in preparation and the tefillah and setting ourselves up. Yaakov setting himself up for success, and also being in the world, being in Haran, being by Esav, being in a place of concealment. We always need to have our head protected. And so this is another idea that brings out this point, right? Vayishlach Yaakov malachim mamash. You send your mamashiyut. But the nefesh stays with Yaakov. And this is the way we, Bezrat Hashem, guarantee success in our missions. Okay. So, in our Parshat, in addition to Yaakov preparing for the encounter with Esav when the Malachim come back and he learns that, he was hoping that it was his brother, right? His brother, take these to my brother. He learned that it's not just your brother, it's Esav. Like Esav hasn't really changed his ways. And meaning that's why the Malachim come back and they say, we found your brother Esav. No, but when Yaakov sends the Malachim, he sends them to his brother. Let's look at it inside. Meaning, he's hoping that they'll find his brother brotherly.
But the meaning, when they add the word, it means he's still him.
The fanav, here, wait. 1 second, let's see. El Esav achiv. And when they come back, Pasuk Zayin, that says in the Pasuk, Vayeshuvu HaMalachim, the Malachim come back, El Yaakov, Leimor, saying, Banu el Achicha, El Esav. We come to your brother, to Esav, meaning, you said, Achihu, Aval hu noheg imcha ke'esav harasha, odenu b'sinato. He's still harboring hate, resent. He's still the Esav harasha. In other words, it's valid to be afraid. And so Yaakov, as we know, he prepares in 3 different ways. And as a part of and in preparation and moving towards Esav to take him on, because Yaakov says, I'm going to go in front. And as he sets the family up into machanot, and also protecting Rachel at the very back. And he says, I'm going to go first towards Esav. And before he gets to encounter Esav, who does he encounter on the other side of the Yabok? Right. Something. We're told this is the Sar of Esav, right? This is Esav's spiritual angel. We learned in Tanya before about the 70 Sarim, chief angels, patron angels is the Lashon, the English word that we translated in class, right? The patron angels. These 70 patron angels are forces, right, above, spiritual forces, that Hashem channels his light and energy to these patron angels, and through the Sarim comes Shefa to the Umot, to the Olam, to the world, right? The people and the places and the things in each territory, in each domain of the 70 angels. And we learned in Tanya, just throwing it in, that the energy and light from Hashem goes to the patron angels, but often makif, b'tzura makifa. The energy Hashem sends to these sarim is hovering energy, right? It's like, and then it goes b'chinat achoraim. Again, if you're studying Tanya with us, right, then you can appreciate these terms, just following the movement of Hashem's energy and light into creation, and there's different modes, right? If Hashem is sending energy and light to Kedusha, to Klipa Noga, to Klipa Tmeot, lots of different tracks for energy to move along and be suitable for the recipient. In any case, we have here Yaakov encountering an angel, or a sar, right? The sar of Esav. And they wrestle, right? And there's dust being kicked up. And Yaakov wins. Yaakov wins. And the angels has to go up because he has to sing Shira in the morning when the sun rises. That's what they do. And so he's desperate for Yaakov to let him go, but Yaakov's the victor. He's in charge, right? Yaakov says, bless me. And the angel, I'm saying angel, but it's this patron angel, right? Of Esav, who tells Yaakov, V'lo yikra shimcha od Yaakov ki im Yisrael yeshemecha. Right? Your name will no longer be Yaakov, but rather Yisrael will be your name. Because ki sarita im Elokim va'adam v'yachol mashu. Don't know it by heart. Because basically Yisrael, right, is melashon shrara, gilui panim, is what Rashi says. Nobility and in full view, right? Sarita, you were victorious. Nobility, sa, like Sarah. Remember Sarai? Right? Same roots. Yisrael, nobility. She was a princess. He rose, right? Yaakov he rose this level. He battled with Elokim va'adam. Elokim here means, again, just like malach can mean messenger or angel, right? Elokim can mean Hashem and can also mean angels, which it does in different places. So here you wrestled with Elokim is the angel, but it's dafka referring to the angels that get light and energy from Hashem in this way of tzimtzum, right? And shine light and energy into the world in the way of tzimtzum, which basically means a lot of concealment, right? That's what this patron angel represents. And Yaakov wrestles with that, and he wins.
Yeah, I wonder why he had to be attacked by this angel, Is it just for him to know he's strong? And then Israel can be strong against his enemies because we're like continuation of Yaakov. It's very hard, for somebody to fight with such a
Power,
difficult,
such a strength.
Yes.
Right.
It's not a human, so it's like really difficult. And if Hashem really loves him to send him such a thing, it's a very difficult test as well. Wow.
And he succeeds, and Yisrael is born, right? We think that like a test, if you're using the word nisayon, right? A test is to bring a koch for anyone all the time. And nisayon is to bring a koch, to move koch into poal, to move potential strength into actualized strength. So you said for him to know, right? It's not, there's knowing and there's also becoming, right? There's stepping into one's power in a way that's transformative, right? So Yaakov is now different than he was before, and so are we, meaning as his Maseh Avot Siman Lebanim. As we are his descendants, we also have a power of Yisrael. So the question is, the Rebbe asked in the Sikha is, this is not the first time we saw a name change, and it's not the first time we had this verse. V'lo yikra shimcha od blank, ki im blank. Right? In other words, your name shall not be but rather It's not the first time. When did we not so long ago see this in the Torah? Avram, right? And your name, you shall no longer be called Avram, but rather Avraham. And we're told, the Gemara teaches us, that what that means is very literal with Avraham. You shall not call Avraham Avram anymore. You're not allowed to call him. Once his name, if you're referring to Avram before, right, if you're learning Chumash, you're referring to Avram when he's Avram, you can say Avram. But unless you're referring to those prakim, right, it's Avraham. We don't call a child Avram.
It's not coming from an angel.
Avraham.
Same, like coming from Hashem and coming from an angel is like considered the same.
Interesting. That's not the answer here, but maybe that's an answer. Maybe that's also an idea. I don't know. So that the question is exactly as you're intuiting, Shir. The question is why the difference, right? The same lashon is for Yaakov as is for Avraham, and yet with Avraham we don't call him Avram, and with Yaakov not only are we allowed to call him Yaakov and allowed to call him Yisrael, but the Torah continues to call him Yaakov and Yisrael, and that's basically the answer why, right? Because the Torah continues to call him Yaakov and Yisrael. But deeper than that, that's because Yaakov represents an aspect to Yaakov, and Yisrael represents an aspect of Yaakov, of Yisrael, of our forefather, right? And as I was sharing with Avigail, I was saying before, and each and every one of us as well. And so basically what we're appreciating, we'll flesh this out, is that there continues to be a Yaakov opportunity, and there continues to be a Yisrael opportunity. And even as Yisrael opportunity kind of like comes on the stage, it's like, you are Yisrael. We still, and there's an advantage to Yisrael. We still hold on to the Yaakov koach. It has a place. Okay, so what are these two different modes of serving Hashem? The one is Yaakov and the one is Yisrael. Everybody following so far? Okay, so the Rashi over here tells us that Yaakov, the difference between Yaakov and Yisrael is that Yaakov, he gets the blessings, I don't know how to pronounce it, be'ikva, I think so, ubemirma, which means with deceit and trickiness. Yaakov, right, is milashon, it's from Rashi, it's in the Rashi, but I don't have the nikud, bet ayin kuf bet he. You see the roots of Yaakov, right? So Yaakov, we know it as referring to heel, the ekev. I'll mention that in a little bit. But also the ikva it's rimiya. Like the snake, right? Activit Rama'ut was tricky. So Yaakov, right, he acts with trickery, with deceit and trickiness to get the blessings. And now, it's b'shura ugilui panim. Right now, when he gets the blessings, he's getting them b'shrara, Yisrael, nobility and in full view. So we have two different gishot, right, to arriving at the blessings with Yaakov in his life, right? We have the Yaakov with trickery, and we have Yisrael. What's the kashur to the blessing? Because the angel blesses him. He gets the blessing again now. He gets the blessing, and as Yisrael, he earned it straight up, right? With nobility. Mamash, like Abigail was saying, like, wow, that's really noble to be able to take on the archangel of Esau. Okay, so B'shara v'gilui panim. So Rebbe says, what are these blessings that Yaakov can get either as Yaakov or as Yisrael? What are the blessings? For Pashtut, the blessings that Yitzchak is as Yaakov, and now as Yisrael, are blessings of Gashmiut. Nachon? Tal ha'aretz and Mishmaneh, from the we'll have to go back and learn the brachot again, right? That Yitzchak gives Yaakov in Parshat Toldot, but they're blessings of plenty. Nachon? Anybody disagree? Everybody agreeing? Moving along? So what does it mean that Yaakov gets the blessings? What is the trickery in receiving the blessings of the physical shefa of this world? What does it mean? So, of course, we know, right, as students of Chassidut, that when we're engaging, let's just say lechem, right, bread, bounty of the land. Lechem is actually the middle three letters of a 5-letter word, milchama. You have to wage war to get the lechem. Spiritually speaking, what sort of war do you have to wage to get the lechem? There are sparks in that bread. As students of Chassidut, we know that when we're going after the bread, we need the bread. When Yaakov is receiving the blessings of the shefa of the earth, it's not just the physical shefa, right? It's the opportunity to glean these sparks from the shefa of the earth. And it has to be Yaakov. It has to be tricky, as do we, to get the blessings, to get the sparks. Why? because they're concealed. And the earth, right, the klipa, the world, doesn't want to give up the sparks, doesn't want to give up its soul, right? And so you're kind of like, hey, hey there, whatever, like yummy, delicious sandwich, right? Hi. The sandwich is like, hey. You're like, I'm cool. I'm no big intentions here. Don't worry. I'm not very religious. Don't worry. I'm gonna say a bracha, but I'm not gonna have kavanah when I eat. Don't worry. I'm not gonna use the energy to serve Hashem. Don't worry. The Rebbe doesn't speak it out that way, but he says we have to come with mirma. You have to be in the world in a way that the world's not suspicious of you. The way that the sparks are not suspicious of you, right? That the materialism is not suspicious of you. But then, just in the nick of time, the Rebbe describes it. You have to get dressed in the big day Nimrod, right? When Yaakov comes to get those blessings, he has to put on the begadim of Nimrod. And he can't look suspicious. To be able to extract those sparks. Reminded me, the Lashon reminded me about when we were learning about Rivka and the roses, right? The thorns don't want to give up the rose, because if not for the rose, no one's going to water the thorns. So you can't just come and pick the rose. You need a justification. So that's why when she turns 3 and now she's ripe, Avram needs to get in. He can't come a minute before because the thorns won't give her up. Meaning the environment, Lavan, Betuel, the family, the klipa, won't give her up. It's only when she turns 3 and now she's ripe for the picking, now there's a loosening of the reins, and now Avram can't wait an extra second because the rose has to be picked. Right? So that's one of the explanations why Eliezer needs kfitzat derech, because you can't leave early and you can't get there late. So it reminded me, the Lashon. Okay. So there was talking about Yaakov's Rema'ut practically to get the blessings, and our Rema'ut to get the sparks. So that's the Ramai, he does Mashu Hu Rotzeh. Sorry, when you come to the Nikudat Inyan, but when you get, right, so you're kind of acting. You're acting the part, you're acting all cool, but then when you get to the Nikudat Inyan and you're about to eat, whatever, again, my mashal is funny, but because at every point you can be a chesed. At every point you can show your cards. Hi, Rivka Mazal. At every point you have to show your cards. There's lots of checkpoints along the way in terms of our opportunities to refine and elevate the sparks. But when you get to that nikuda, and again, I'm saying, there's nikudot along the way when we have to show our cards. Right? Then you do what you want. Right? You show your cards. You do what you want. I love the colors.
Yeah, I just thought that Leah also deceived him because maybe she felt that he has to take a part of her. Same idea.
Interesting. Yeah. 10. You're reminding me of. I don't want to make it's mamash related. It's reminding me, and because I really want to be with the Mitteler Rebbe, so I'm going to give myself the license to mamash step out for a second and share another story. There was, and maybe Rivka Mazal will remember the details. There was a particular Torah of the Alter Rebbe. I don't remember what it was called, but it was highly confidential. Not confidential mamash, but nobody was allowed to read it, the Sefer. Nobody was allowed to read it. It wasn't for the viewing. And it had big letters on it, do not read. And then there was a fire in the house, and the Alter Rebbe, it's gone, it's burnt. So the Alter Rebbe comes to the Mitteler Rebbe and says, that Sefer, the forbidden one, right? Forbidden. Did you read it? And he says, Mabitom, of course I didn't read it. It said, do not read, all over it. Of course I didn't read it. The Alter Rebbe said, chutzpah for Chassidut, chaval. Mesirut nefesh for Chassidut. Chutzpah, mesirut nefesh for Chassidut, should have read it. Yeah. Crazy story, right? Just reminded me with the Rama'ut when you said, I don't want to say that it's the same, but Certain things have to come. I don't know. I don't understand the story. I don't know why. I don't know more details. I don't know why it wasn't meant to be read. But the story is told because there's something about developing an acute, an acute sense of chutzpah. That's okay. That's nachon. You just have to know when, and that's the acute zeh. Okay. So here we're learning about Bemet being Yaakov. Yeah. Had not. And the Alter Rebbe said, no. Of course it said do not read, but it's Chassidut. How did you not read the Chassidut? Mesirat Nefesh. Another tangent, but when Rivka says to Yaakov, it's on me, going back to the Ramaut, right? Yaakov's nervous to take the blessings in trickery. And Rivka says, it's on me. So the Rebbe says, why does that make Yaakov feel better? Yaakov loves his mother. Like, the fact that she's going to take the blame, she's going to take the consequence, is that going to make Yaakov more comfortable to go into the situation? He says, no, that's not the point. Rivka is saying, I'm being moser nefesh for this. And if I'm being moser nefesh for this, we're putting it into a different category. You can be moser nefesh too. Certain things you have to be moser nefesh for. And yeah, it had to come through trickery, because that's the only way that Yaakov could have gotten the blessings. But again, we're not in that parsha right now. The idea is that we come and we get these sparks, and we have to come with trickery too. Because the fight is a part of the construct, right? A part of Hashem's constructed, the way that Hashem constructed the world, right? That lechem milchama, to get the sparks, there has to be this confrontation. And milchama is krav, right? We're going to talk about padeh b'shalom nafshi. Krav li, right? Krav, kiruv. You have to get close. You have to have milchama. You have to get up close and personal with the klipa, with the concealment, with the bad guy, to be able to extract the spark. And that's Yaakov. He's not afraid, right? Al tira Yaakov. At the end of the Sikha there he says, okay, just going out of order. At the end of this, it's a good question, you'll see where we're going. At the end of the Sikha there he says, I think it's Sephardi, based on my research, but and it's actually appears in Minhagei Chabad, the Sefer. Anyhow, there's a beautiful song that's Kashur to Motzei Shabbat, Avdallah, Malav Malka, Al Tira Avdi Yaakov. With all these quotes from Yeshaya, Yirmiyah, Al Tira Avdi Yaakov. And Hashem, we need Hashem's bracha. Don't be afraid, Yaakov, because this work is confrontational, right? It's intense. Okay, Elisha, I like your question, and you'll see where we're going in a second. So this is Yaakov, and it's a koach that we need. It's a koach that we get. And so what is the avoda of Yisrael? Yisrael is noble, right? In full view. He's not in milchama with the sparks. Yisrael is eino tzarich lastir et hakavana elokit. He doesn't need to put up a guise. He doesn't need to come in through the back door. The bechina of Yisrael, we also inherit, is gashmiut eina nilchemet imo ve'eina mastira lo elokut shebehem. The gashmiut is not fighting, is not in combat, is not waging war, is not holding on in that same way, not concealing, like Sudat Shabbat, or Sudat Shabbat, which is a mitzvah, which is different to Avodat HaBe'urim during the week. Right? Avodat HaBe'urim during the week is more of the Yaakov mode. And in Shabbat, we get to step into more of the Yisrael mode, where the sparks are already elevated. Right? They're available. They're not fighting. Yeah.
Can we also experience that during the week?
Mm-hmm. Hold on. Yeah. We're developing. Great question. Perfect question. Okay. So here, what I was mentioning before about Elokim, the Rashi says Kisarita, right? The angel says Kisarita Elokim, right? You engaged in this noble way with Elohim, right? With the forces, and you've won. They no longer conceal, right? So the whole fabric of reality, of creation, with the patron angels getting the gilui, b'makif, and channeling it down b'tzimtzum, and everything being so present and so real and so combative, right? Concealment so distinct is no longer the case for Yisrael. Okay, so another movement. Hey, come on in. About the Mitteler Rebbe. Again, I don't know who's quoted. Like, if I don't write it down, I don't have a reference, and I don't remember. They said like the Mitteler Rebbe was so prolific in his Chassidut, like I was mentioning before, and the Chassidut was so deep and expansive and developed, more than the Alter Rebbe and more than the Tzemach Tzedek. Like he had the midah of harchava in his Chassidut, breadth, scope, depth, and that there was this sense that, like, I wish I remembered the quote, but it was pashut geula. The student, the Rebbe and the students were pashut in geula. In geula, because in that dimension of reality, there is no galut. There is no concealment. There is no beirur. It's just light. That's the bechina of Yisrael. Okay. So the Rebbe brings them a connection to Lo hibit avon b'Yaakov v'lo ra'a amal b'Yisrael. Which, who says that? There, to see you're nodding. Bilam, right? This is one of the blessings and not curses of Bilam. So if you look at the words, it's beautiful because it really encapsulates what we're learning here. Lo hibit avon b'Yaakov v'lo ra'a amal b'Yisrael. Hashem, right? He's referring to Hashem, that Hashem doesn't hibit, right? Lahabit, to see. Avon is sin, iniquity, right? In Yaakov. V'lo ra'a amal b'Yisrael, and doesn't see amal. Amal is litamel, right? Amila, effort. English, effort. Toil, I think is the word. B'Yisrael, in Yisrael. So what do we have here? In Yaakov, we don't have avon, but we have toil. In Yisrael, we for sure don't have avon, and we don't even have toil. Right? So again, Yaakov, there is no sin. Yaakov succeeds. Yaakov succeeds, right? Al tira Yaakov, avdi Yaakov. Don't be afraid. Yaakov can succeed. We can all succeed in our milchama. The milchama is real. We can all succeed. Yisrael, but we have to work hard. We have to work hard. The bechina of Yisrael doesn't even have to work hard. It's pashut avodav. Lalechet michayil el chayil. Avodav shalom. Okay, so these two levels, we said, that Yaakov doesn't get absolved. The madriga of the work of Yaakov doesn't get absolved when Yaakov becomes Yisrael. Because both of these avodas are shayach for each and every Jew. Generally speaking, there are Jews that are more Yaakov and more Yisrael. What would we call in the categories of the Tanya? Those of us, halavai, that are Yaakov, what do we call them? Categories of the Tanya, we're coming up to Yutek Kislev, Beinoni, Nachon, and the Avodah of Yisrael, Tzaddik, Nachon. But also, right, there's times of the week. So like you were saying, Elisheva, the week is more of Yaakov mode. Shabbos is more Yisrael mode, but a Yisrael person can have Yisrael during the week. Nachon? If you're in a Yisrael moment, if you're in a Tzaddik moment. We can have tzaddik moments. We can have beinoni moments, especially now, as we're closer to the Geula Shlema. We can all have tzaddik moments, Hashem. And so we can have a bechina of Yisrael. But even a tzaddik has a bechina of Yaakov, and this koach that we all have to linatzeach. Right? In the default state of Yaakov, we have the koach l'natzech, to be victorious. And the Rebbe says what also helps is the bitachon, right? The confidence that we will be victorious. הביטחון שסוף כל סוף ינצחו במלחמה. That we will ultimately succeed in the milchama. Yeah, and there's the milchama that's like, big, and there's the milchama that's small. And we have victories. Like I went to an event the other night and for the Ganim, and the Menahelet, she said, like, this event is to celebrate nitzachon. She wasn't talking about anything like outside. Talking about a nitzachon. The fact that the Gan exists and it's so special. It's a nitzachon, right? So on every level, so sof kol sof yinatzchu b'milchama. So when we have the bitachon and we know that we will inevitably succeed in our milchamot, then it adds simcha into our avoda, right? That bitachon adds simcha. And so the soldier, the Rebbe says, the soldier is going out to war, and going out to war, he hasn't won the war yet, but he's confident that he's going to win, and so he goes out with a nigun. He goes out with a song, right? With an anthem, with a cheer, with a nigun. And that simcha, that chayut, brings about the victory. That simcha brings about and is mizarez et nitzachon. And so again, the Al Tira Yisrael, Al Tira, that's a different lashon, right? It's a different verse. That's a verse from the Torah. This one, Avdi Yaakov, Al Tira Avdi Yaakov, is dafka sung on Motzei Shabbat. It's dafka, that's when this song is sung. It's in the Nusach for Motzei Shabbat, because that's when it's like, okay, for the average person, they're Yisrael, and for every person, because on whatever level you are, whether it's subtle, right, or extreme, there's shifts, right? There's movement in our levels. And I realize now that I must have missed glancing at a paragraph, because the Rebbe also says that Yaakov and Yisrael has to do with aspects that are in neshama, that are enlivening us, that are in our power. So Yaakov is as also, like we said before, we were talking about Yaakov milashon, the trickery, the deceit, but also Yaakov is ekev, right? So the heel of the neshama is manifest inside of me, and with the koach of the heel of my neshama, I get to linatzeach in the way of Yaakov, right? The heel of the neshama is the end part of the neshama, the nefesh, the ruach, the neshama, right? The neshama aspect of the neshama. And Yisrael is li rosh, right? Is the rosh of the neshama. It's the pinnacle of the neshama, right? The essence of the neshama, which is my koach. And so what aspect am I, able to tap into, and when? And to know that we all have both of these aspects within us. And I was going to say to be strategic, but I don't think that's the right message, because we don't always get to choose. If we're in a ratzah or if we're in a shov, if we're having a Yaakov moment or we're having a Yisrael moment. But we can appreciate that it's complex, and Yaakov also, Al Tira, Yaakov also is a victor, and there's no avon, meaning we can succeed. And Yisrael, when we have those golden moments of Yisrael, then we can fly, It's like, because there's no combat. Did you get your question answered? Yeah?
Do you think that they're the same here, that the default is that we're Yaakov and sometimes we have Yisrael moments? Or?
Rebbe says that generally speaking, it's like they're categories of people. So like the Beinani, and we know that we're like Halavai Beinani. So we're Halavai Yaakov. Mm-hmm. And Halavai Yisrael. Okay. I think that's like the default state. And then when you're busy learning a deep mimer, you're like Yisrael on steroids. So I actually wanted to move from here, but I feel like you're up to something. You got something up your sleeve. I wanted to move from here into the Mitteler Rebbe. And so it was Tet, and now it's Yud. And as we started talking a little bit in the beginning when we were getting organized, that Tet marks the birthday and the passing of the Mitteler Rebbe, which is very unique. A wholeness in years, which is what Chazal tell us is the way that Hashem counts and manages the years of tzaddikim, and yet we don't find it very often, right? So b'pashtut, on the clock, on the calendar, that it manifests this way. So Mitteler Rebbe is clearly a very unique in this way. Who else do we know? Moshe Rabbeinu, nachon.
Didn't the Mitteler die the same as Shavuot, same day?
We don't know that for sure. We didn't say that for Parshat.
I think so.
Did you hear that?
24 years, because
He got 70 years from
Adam.
But yeah.
I wanted to say something. It's just coming to my mind now for some reason that I meant to throw in it earlier because I just noticed it. I think today or yesterday in the Rashi that when I was kind of taking us through the story of Yaakov wrestling with the angel and then the angel being like, I have to go, right? And he says, but bless me. And then the angel goes and the sun rises. The sun rises and heals and brings healing to Yaakov because his gid nasheh, his gid, right, jumped out of its place in nasheh, like it jumped out of its place. And so the sun rising, the sun brings healing. The sun has that. The sun has healing power if you're righteous, right? Anyhow, that's not the point right now. So the sun rises, and Rashi says that the sun rose early to bring healing quickly to Yaakov. What I wanted to mention is that Rashi says that the sun rose early because there's a few hours to be accounted for of sun time, because the sun set early. Vayifka b'makom. Remember when we were learning last week, I was like, there was kvitzat haderech, and I was confused. There was kvitzat hazman. The time accelerated because Hashem wanted Yaakov to sleep in that place. So he's going along, and it's night. And he davens arvitz, and he goes to sleep. Right? And that was our learning last week. Because the sun set early, a week ago. Vayifka b'makom, okay? Beginning of Vayitzeh. Those hours of the sun pop up here, the sun rises early. Anyhow, just wanted to share it. I think it popped in my mind also because when we're thinking about days and being so precise, every day has its definition. The days are meant to, when a tzaddik, when a Jew, when a person, after Chaim Nitzchiyim passes away, we can dedicate our learning also tonight to Lilu Nishmat Rav Ephraim ben Leib. That we don't just give Hashem, like Hashem isn't just receiving, and also just think about, in our lives, like we're not just giving Hashem our ma'asim, we're also giving Hashem our time. Because every day, every moment, but just generally speaking, every day is Baba Yamim, right? Is its own punctuated unit of time and has its own mission, right? And often we can be, because we're human and we're whatever, right? It's like sloppy days. So like a little bit of yesterday will leak into today, and some of today will leak into tomorrow, and whatever. But at Tzaddik, every day is whole, right? And so the Tzaddiks, so the Mitteler Rebbe, having this whole complete cycle, which Rav Patia was saying, like Tzad Lamdanut, it really should end the day before, not the same day. But the day of passing doesn't count it as a day in this respect, because it doesn't have its own avoda. The avoda of the day of one's passing is klaluta avoda shel hachayim. It's the cumulative, collective, like Shabbat, like all the avoda rises. Anyhow, if anybody was curious about that point, it's like one of the first points he made is like, and lamdit, like a question of lamdish question. Okay, so this whole unit of time. We were learning last week about, I hope everybody was here last week. If not, then in some sense you were. We were learning last week, one of the aspects that we brought up from the Dvar Malchus is that when Yaakov went to sleep, right, there's an equalizing of his head and his goof, which can seem like a what? Yeah, or like a downgrade. Right, a downgrade of the head when it moves towards the feet. Actually, it's a nilui, right? Because this equalizing is actually pulling forth a koach that's higher than both head and feet. Atzmut, essence. And that was also represented by the kifut of the rock. Okay, so why am I mentioning that now? Oh, and so this idea of the spiritual and the physical being so merged, right? This idea of let me think about how to simplify it for those of you who weren't here last week. That the spiritual is reflected by the physical, and the physical reflects the spiritual. And really, the spiritual is hinting at the physical. The spiritual is what's really real, right? But there's this perfect, as we were learning in Derech Misotecha, there's this not just incredible, not just perfect, but like divine parallel, right, between the spiritual and the physical. The light and the vessels meet 100%, right? In every aspect of reality. The spiritual, the physical is a reflection of the spiritual. The spiritual and the physical being a reflection of each other are essentially because of the oneness that they share. Right? Because it's all atzmut. Everything is the essence of Hashem. And so the Rebbe points out in that same Sikha, talking about Yaakov going to sleep and how it's really like this incredibly superior state that Yaakov steps into in preparation for his journey, that is what the wholeness of the Mitteler Rebbe's life represents. The extent to which this physical reflects the spiritual. What's the spiritual? Wholeness in Avodat Hashem. And that's what's going on. That tzaddik passes away is because he's done. He's completed his life's work. Wholeness in Avodat Hashem. And for the fact that the physical wholeness, born on Tet Kislev, passed away on Tet Kislev, is reflecting that it's the fact that the physical is reflecting the spiritual reflects the deeper oneness in the Mitteler Rebbe of the physical and the spiritual, which Be'emet is the Frierdiker Rebbe. Sorry, I just said the Frierdiker Rebbe a few times, and I meant the Mitteler Rebbe. We were talking about before about the depth of his Chassidut and the extent of his Chassidut. And so, that's Tet Kislev. And Yud Kislev is Chag HaGeula, because 2 years before he passed away, he was incarcerated because of false claims having to do with how he was using money, which actually sounds familiar because it also has with the Alter Rebbe as well. And so he was arrested. But it's all just like all these excuses. They're all just excuses. But Fatul was explaining about how the Chabad Rebbeim had this like special status, but it was all show. It was all a show. Really, it's like any opportunity, they were really, lurking and looking to undermine. And so, previous Rebbe is taken into prison in Vitebsk. Can I just make that up? Short imprisonment, but the Mitteler Rebbe said that it never really ended. Which is why the Yud Kislev isn't really celebrated in the same way that Yud Tet Kislev is celebrated. But anyhow, this isn't going to go into that point right now. So that Yud Kislev is his Chag HaGeula. And Mitteler Rebbe, Yud Kislev, is saying Tehillim of Yud Kislev. As we know, the Tehillim is divided into 30. And every day, all of us, right, can say the daily Tehillim. And so, in other words, it's a popular thing to do. It's not like Yichudei Skula, it's a popular thing, right? You say the Tehillim of the day. And so with the Yud Kislev, every year, Yud Kislev includes chapter Nun Hey, is that correct? And in there is Pada B'Shalom Nafshi, which means my soul has been redeemed B'Shalom. B'Shalom. And on Yud Kislev, where David HaMelech is speaking out about his soul being redeemed b'shalom, the Mitteler Rebbe is redeemed b'shalom. In fact, it was Tet Kislev when the officers came to tell him that he was free. But he was in the middle of saying Chassidut. And how crazy is this? The officers didn't want to interrupt the Mitteler Rebbe while he was saying Chassidut, and so they waited. They waited. That's itself Chag HaGeula. So many layers, right? They waited, and it was only Yud Kislev when he was freed.
What are you saying, Chassidut?
He was teaching Chassidut, and so the Mitteler Rebbe, So the Mitteler Rebbe's imprisonment was different to the Alter Rebbe's. It wasn't as harsh. It wasn't as dark. He didn't get taken to prison. He got invited to show up. He was accompanied, but also by Hasidim. And along the travel to, I can't remember where it was, he stopped and he taught Hasidut to Hasidim along the way. So yeah, Tet Kislev, Yud Kislev. I didn't know that. I thought that was really cool. It could be, I think this is what Raphael was saying, like it could be a question one might have, like why then is Yud given the credit when it's kind of Tet? Like is it Tet or Yud? Maybe Tet and Yud. Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you for checking. So Tet is Mitteler Rebbe's Yortzeit. And packaging the Chag HaGeula with the Yortzeit, better to keep the Chag HaGeula as Yud when he actually got redeemed. And Rav Patil gave his own idea. He said he didn't see it anywhere. But I want to share it because it brings up another cool idea, which is that on Chag HaGeula we don't say Tachanun. So nobody has to say Tachanun tomorrow if they're connecting in with the Geula of the Mitteler Rebbe. But in Chabad, on a Yortzeit, we do say Tachanun. And other Hasidic, actually somebody said this on your birthday as well. I think Esther shared it on your birthday, this idea, but I heard it today as well. So in Polish Hasidut, right? So there are other groups of Hasidim who do not say Tachanun on a Yortzeit. And in Chabad we do, and the Friedrich Rebbe was asked why, and he said, what better opportunity to do Tachanun, to do Tshuva, to engage in this holy work, if not on a Yortzeit. The Yortzeit is so holy because there's this rising to a higher level. It's the most auspicious opportunity for the Hasidim that are connecting in with the height and the rising and the movement of the life of the tzaddik to engage in teshuvah from this place of bitul, from this place that's high. So anyhow, Tet Kislev is Tet Kislev, Yud Kislev is Yud Kislev. We do say Tachanun and Tet Kislev. We don't say Tachanun and Yud Kislev. Yud Kislev is the Chag HaGeula and Pada B'Shalom Nafshi. So, B'ezrat Hashem, in closing, we'll sing the Nigun. Whoever can stay will stay.
Which Geula is it? Geula, like private Geula, or what kind of?
Yefeh. Beautiful question. Beautiful question. So I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to incorporate it in B'ezrat Hashem. So as we all know, that Yud Tet Kislev is coming up next week, right? Which is Chag HaGeula with a capital G, right? And meaning it's much more celebrated, much more publicized, etc. Everyone have plans? And it's also Pada B'Shalom Nafshi. Why? Because it's not Yud, so it's not, Nun Hey is not a part of the Tehillim of the day on Yud Tet. So why is it also Pada B'Shalom? Because the Alter Rebbe was also saying Pada B'Shalom Nafshi when he was redeemed. But how does he come to say Pada B'Shalom Nafshi on Yud Tet Kislev? Because it was a Tuesday. We know about the Alter Rebbe that when he was in prison, he said a lot of Tehillim. Which also reminded me of Yaakov, because we said that the Midrash tells us that's what Yaakov was busy doing. That was a part of the rocks around his head while he's working. Right? He's working, but he's only sending his mamashut into Haran. His nefesh, right? He's keeping back. He's saying Tehillim all the time. Either the 15 Shir HaMa'alot, or the entire Tehillim. And so, anyhow, just reminded me, connection. The Alter Rebbe said extra Tehillim, right? Increased in Tehillim while he was in Petersburg and in the prison. And so he was saying the Tehillim for Tuesday, because the Tehillim is also divided for days of the week, Yom, right? The Rebbe points out that Pada B'Shalom Nafshi is really most kashur with the Mitteler Rebbe, most kashur with Yud Kislev, even more than Yud Tet Kislev, because it's always on Yud Kislev. Yud Tet Kislev always doesn't always fall out on a Tuesday. And even if it does, Lav Dafka, are you saying the Tehillim of Tuesday? But Yud Kislev is Pada B'Shalom every year for everyone. Everyone's invited to say the Tehillim of the day. And what does it mean, Pada B'Shalom? Why is this so special? So you have to retroactively come to Rivka Mazal's Maimer series last year. Pada b'shalom nafshi is not simply, okay, sorry, before I say, I want to relate Pada b'shalom nafshi to V'shavti b'shalom al beit avi. Yaakov Avinu in our Parsha comes back b'shalom to his father's house, which is the whole purpose of his trip, right? Again, going back to last week, Yaakov's heading out, Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva. We spoke about that last week. It's a big transition. I mean, I don't know how much of a transition. It's a big jump out of Beersheva and into Haran Mokom. And he's going to come back, because when he comes back, he's going to make that rock a house for God. Right? He will have succeeded. He will be whole in and of himself, built a family, and have acquired the sparks of Lavan, right? The wealth and the sheep, as we spoke last week. So V'shavti b'shalom, right? In our Parsha, Yaakov comes back b'shalom, pada b'shalom. What does it mean b'shalom? So it doesn't just mean come back in peace, like I come back in peace. I come back with peace, to be redeemed with peace. What do you mean to be redeemed with peace? What is shalom? We want to be redeemed with peace. We want peace with us. Right? Even Shabbat Shalom. We want peace to be with us. What is peace? So going back to before, right? The question that I'm maybe putting it on Elisheva, but I feel like it was there because Elisheva has never mind. I'm not going to pick on Elisheva. This ratzon to have more of Yisrael, nachon? And also Rivka Mazal's question. What is shalom? Shalom is not milchama, nachon? Shalom is not milchama, right? There's milchama and there's shalom. And true, right? Our work is work of milchama. To get that lechem, you need milchama, right? It's in through war that we acquire our bread, the sparks in the bread. We have to come in combat with the concealment of this world in an ordinary experience, in an ordinary moment. But Shalom is when there is no concealment. Shalom represents harchava, expanse, consistency, tedirut, consistency. And just to stop for a second and say those two features are the features that we mentioned before about the Mitteler Rebbe, that his chassidus was very expansive, right, and very frequent. So the Rebbe says that he has the shalom, these elements of shalom within him, and within his avoda, within his leadership. And for the Hasidim, as somebody said before, just for the Rebbe, I don't know, for the Hasidim. And the Mitteler Rebbe wrote a mimer, or gave over a mimer, Pada B'Shalom, which is the original Pada B'Shalom that many, many mamarim are based on. And the question is, what is Be'emet Shalom? Right? What is this avoda that's truly peaceful, that doesn't have the strings attached? And definitely can't sum it up in one word. So I'm not going to try and sum it up. I'll share that there is tefillah, and there is Torah. There are different aspects to how we serve Hashem. Now it sounds like I'm talking Tanya in the morning, right? We're learning all about different opportunities to serve Hashem and to do avodat beirurim. Tefillah, mitzvot, seder shtashalut, nachon. Lots of different aspects to serve Hashem, different ways to serve Hashem. And tefillah is one of combat. Tefillah, we're going head on with our enemy, right? In milchama, there are two forces, like we were thinking about Yaakov with the angel, right? There are two forces that are butting heads. And so what that means inside is that there are two souls butting heads. There are two souls butting heads when two elements are coming together. And within an individual, the two souls are the godly soul and the animal soul that are b'milchama. Right? And in tefillah, our godly soul is going at it, at the animal soul, and trying to overpower the animal soul, trying to make the ratzonot of the godly soul those of the animal soul. And we can succeed. we can succeed with that war. But the question is, what's happening to the enemy? To what extent is the enemy getting knocked out? And wow, when he wakes up, he's going to have had a really nice rest. Or is the enemy actually undergoing some sort of transformation? Or is the enemy becoming a friend, a partner in and of himself, in and of herself, in and of itself? Actually, through and through, partner. So ultimately, pada b'shalom nafshi is a deep tefillah, if you will, for shalom, right? For Mashiach. And the koach to get to shalom is from the yechida of our neshama, the yechida. Hayu imadi. The aspect of our soul that brings us to Mesirut Nefesh. We're talking before about Mesirut Nefesh for Chassidut, right? That brings us to Mesirut Nefesh, and I can hear your voice, Rivka Mazal, from last year saying every single mitzvah, every single holy act is an act of Mesirut Nefesh. Is an extension, is an expression of the Yechida. And in the Maimer, in connecting with the Mitteler Rebbe, the Nasi Hador, Yaakov, Yisrael, right? Nasi Hador is Roshei Tevot. Nasi is Roshei Tevot. Nasi. Oh, it's not in order. Okay, right? Is that why I'm not? Nasi. Nitzotz. Okay, there we go. It is in order. Nitzotz shel Yaakov Avinu. Right? A spark of Yaakov Avinu. That is Nasi, right? So Nasi Adol, the Mitteler Rebbe, as Baruch Hashem, we're zocha to learn his Torah, and the Rebbe says, learn Mitteler Rebbe's Torah, and Dafka and Yud Kislev, Tet Kislev, just learn the Mitteler Torah, and it's right here, here, it's right here. It's learnable, huh? It's learnable, and the beginning of it's learnable, and you can find online, and you can really learn the Mitteler Torah, and I've only learned a little bit. Whatever I've learned is Gan Eden. And that's a part of the point too. Okay, so the Yechida in the Nasi Ador, the Yechida is chazak, the Yechida is shining, and there's osmosis, there's spiritual osmosis, right? We get kochot, we get Yechida kochot from the Nasi Ador, from Yisrael. We can all get Yechida kochot. We can all get Mesirut Nefesh kochot. We can all come to a place of shalom, B'ezrat Hashem. Little, lot, Geula Shlema, a lot more. What was I going to say? Yeah, that too. The Nasi Ador, Yaakov, what makes Yaakov is he holds the total of all of the souls of Israel, like Adam HaRishon. And the first burst of emanating the totality of the souls of Am Yisrael, all of our souls is in 12, right? 12 sons. And each of these sons is holding a different aspect of Am Yisrael, another tribe, another dimension. If those of us who, like me, who don't yet understand this concept, but I'm just throwing it out there, there's something called the 12 angles, which is basically a simple geometric equation that if you have 3 lines, you have 12 angles. There's up, down, front, and back of each of the 3 lines. So you have Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, the Kabbalistic structure. The primary structure is that of 3 lines. Yaakov is Tiferet, right? So in 3 lines, you have 12 angles, 12 manifestations, 12 tribes, holding all of Am Yisrael to come. And these 12 tribes come through Yaakov along with 4 mothers, right? Yeah, I mean, there are 4 imahot, but come from 4 wives, which is Barzel. Barzel is Roshei Tevot, Bilha, Rachel, Zilpa, Leah. Barzel. It says, Avaneha Barzel. Her stones, the stones of Eretz Yisrael are Barzel, are iron, are strong. The stones of Eretz Yisrael are Bilha, Rachel, Zilpa, and Leah. All 4 of them bring forth, this burst of 12 of Yaakov. So I wanted to end with the sweet Torah about the foremothers that I Dafka read it this time from Ora Rivka, who encapsulated it so beautifully. It's very short. It's an idea that she learned from the Rav. Basically, the Rebbe Rayatz, in one of his Farbrengens, teaches that there are 3 loves that are one. What are they? Ahavat Hashem, Ahavat. No, I mean not no, but wait. Ahavat Torah and Ahavat Yisrael. Nachon, Ahavat Yisrael. In a different Farbrengen, the Friedrich Rebbe said that there's a 4th love that includes them all, which is Ahavat Eretz Yisrael. And so that's the Friedrich Rebbe. So Rav Ginsburg connects these 4 loves to the 4 mothers, not the 4 imahot, but Barzel, right, to the 4 wives of Yaakov. So I'll share it with you because it's empowering. Okay, so and we actually, you know what? Let's guess. Barzel, the 4 wives of Yaakov. This is from the Rav, yeah.
Wasn't it the 3 wives? Remember her saying it?
I don't know. Okay. So we have, no, yeah, okay. Oh, Elisheva, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, we have Sarah. Elisheva's right. It's not the 4, okay. Yeah. Sorry. So the Barzel, the 4 wives of Yaakov, through which comes all of Am Yisrael. Sorry, that was like the wrong way to introduce this idea. Above that, we have our 4 mothers. Further and beyond that, we have our 4 mothers, which relates to these 4 loves. Thanks, Elisheva. Sarah, who's next? Rivka. Who's next? Rachel and Leah. Okay. Anybody want to guess? Pin any of our 4 loves, right? We have the loves are Ahavat. We have Ahavat Yisrael, right? Ahavat Hashem, Ahavat Torah, and Ahavat Eretz Yisrael. Sorry, I'm going to stand over here and make lines. Okay, so Ahavat Yisrael. Who do we want to pin it to?
Leah.
I think I'm hearing all 4. Okay, so I'll tell the lines and then we'll discuss it. Sarah is Ahavat Hashem. Rivka is Ahavat Torah. Rachel is Ahavat Eretz Yisrael. And Leah is Ahavat Yisrael. Everything's fine. Why? Okay, so Sarah, like Avraham, Ishto Kegufo, Ahavat Hashem. Ahavat Hashem. What do you do when you love Hashem so much and you're full of love? You share, you give Hashem, right? You share Hashem with everyone. What's the koach we get from Ahavat Hashem, from Sarah, from this koach of the Friedrich Rebbe? That's one of our loves, that we have Ahavat Hashem inside of us, and it's a koach to love Hashem, b'chol ma'odecha, which is another link to the Pada v'Shalom. The place of Shalom is called b'chol ma'odecha. That's the plane of Mesirut Nefesh. That's the plane within which the enemy is pashut, absolutely transformed. Ahavat Hashem. Rivka, why is she Ahavat Torah? Anybody want to guess the link? Yeah, good. So Elisheva gave us a clue. Yaakov is Torah. So why is Rivka Torah? Sweet. There's a pasuk, Rivka ahev et Yaakov. Rivka loves Yaakov. What is Yaakov? Torah. He's our Ishtam. Rivka loves Torah. She identifies with Torah. Yeah, yafeh. So Rivka is Torah, this koach inside of us, our love of Torah. Right? Each and every one of us, as an inheritor of the imahot, we have within us incredible love of Torah. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll learn more of the Mitteler of his Torah. We'll be inspired with his harchava and the amount of Torah that he taught with such intensity. Okay, Rachel is Eretz Yisrael. Rachel is still crying. right? Always crying that we should be able to come back into Eretz Yisrael. And the return of Am Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael, and the return of Zion is called Binyan Partzuf Rachel, right? The building up of Partzuf Rachel. That's what it's called. When we have restoration in the land of Israel, it's called Binyan Partzuf Rachel. Eretz Yisrael, our koach to invest in Eretz Yisrael, to build Eretz Yisrael, from our love of Eretz Yisrael, which includes everything. And Leah is bringing about the majority of the tribes, Ahavat Yisrael.
Why would that be Ahavat Yisrael?
She wants to have children because of her love of Am Yisrael. That's why and she has thesis.
I would think she's the Ahavat Yisrael.
Yeah.
Of all the chesed she does.
Nachon. The Rebbe says that that's Ahavat Hashem because it's her love of Hashem that she's sharing. It's her love of God that she's sharing.
Okay.
But you can always have a chidush.
I forget where it was, Leah. I
Yeah.
forget if you or it was at a different prophecies.
Yeah.
Someone conjectured that,
Like Rachel is the Rachel and Yaakov are like the Bashir, and was that I think that was at your table.
Okay.
And Leah and
Oh,
Yisrael.
it was her. Yeah, it was this girl.
Oh, it was you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does that make sense with our discussion tonight? Yes. Does that make sense
Oh.
with this?
Well, okay, we have to sing our nigun.
What's
Rachel.
all the
Rachel is, yeah, you can talk to her about it afterwards. Rachel is represents Baal Tshuva. Sorry, no, Rachel represents Tzaddik, and Leah represents Baal Tshuva. There's so much more Torah that we can share. Baruch Hashem, there's endless. That's for Hachava, but we'll save more for another time. No, I'm not saying that. Just in general. I'm like, how much? So let's sing Pada V'Shalom, and then Mizrat Hashem will close. You can find it on your phone if anybody needs the words.
Can I share something very
Yeah.
One time I had the privilege of taking care of this elderly woman. My daughter was doing translation work for her in Pittsburgh. Anyway, she was like the daughter of a
half cold, half hot.
Rebbe.
Satmar Rebbe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she had sort of gotten away from observance and, but she would say to me, there was a song my father used to sing, a song I love, Al Tere Yaakov, don't
Yeah.
fear Yaakov.
Wow.
She says, she just said it in English, don't fear Yaakov. And she was like, do you know that song? I want to hear that song again
Yeah.
in my life. My father always sang it.
Wow.
And then we found finally the song, and when we sang it, it's like our whole neshama came alive. It was really amazing.
Wow. Wow.
Is it the same nigun that we are singing now?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's not a short nigun, right? It has a lot of parts. We'll sing it. Whoever can stay and sing together in honor of our bringing. Thank you so much, Anita.
Where can we find it?
You can find it online. Just put in Pada B'Shalom Nafshi. Pada B'Shalom Nafshi.
155. Which down? 55.
Bezrat Hashem, and the koach of our avot and our imahot, and Yaakov, the beginning of this parsha, the Torah from the Magid, that Yaakov sent the mamashut of the angels, already always keeping ourselves in check, and that's the strategizing, I think. It's prepare as if you're Yaakov, don't expect to be Yisrael, right? Set yourself up as Yaakov does. Send just the mamashut of the angels, keep your nefesh safe. There's milchama, there's danger, and win, and win the battle. Lo ibit avon b'Yaakov. And Bezrat Hashem, it's okay. Bezrat Hashem, with the koach of Pada B'Shalom, the koach of the Yechida, the koach of our koach HaMesorot Nefesh, the koach of beautiful songs, and the koach of Pnimiyut Torah, which is the piece that I didn't share before. The koach of Pnimiyut Torah, right, of the inner dimension of Torah, where in Chassidut, and there's also different bechinot. Every dimension has dimensions, right? So he spoke about lechem, milchama. The Torah is compared to food, mazon, and dafka Torah Nigle, when you learn Gemara, when you learn Isser v'Hetzer, when we learn Shakla v'Tarya, questions, answers. So what is this? Is it right or is it wrong? What's the deen? What's the halacha? I don't know. There's question, there's concealment. Don't know if this is kosher. I have a question. That whole realm of study, which is most of the Torah that we have, right, is called mazon, is the lechem of Torah, because it requires a lot of deciphering, distilling, finding the light, the gilui. And then there's what the Brian Mahemna calls Etz Chaim, Pnimut HaTorah, the Zohar, Kabbalah, Chassidut, where that isn't the nature of the study. It's not Shakla v'Tarya, it's not queries and concealments. It's revelation. And again, there's levels. And it's through learning Pnimut HaTorah, right? Through learning the inner dimension of the Torah, which Baruch Hashem we get to learn, and everybody really gets to learn today. We get to a more pnimi dimension of our souls, and we get closer to this aspect of shalom, right? Pada b'shalom, coming with peace, bringing along peace, bringing you on the space where there is clarity, where there is light, where is Yisrael. Okay, 1, 2, 3.